shuffled. Now Tom's in the corner. Let's do this. Let's just briefly introduce yourself. Give us a quick background. I mean, you've been on the show enough times. We spend a lot of time on it, and approximately when you started growing in Horizonal system. Take it away, Tom.
Sure. Hey, I'm Tom Landry. My company is called Leighton Craft Cannabis. We're from the East Coast, Canada. I'm co-owner of the company. We're a licensed cannabis micro cultivation, and we started 6 or 7 years ago in 2019. So seven years ago, I was growing like I was growing before legalization in organic soil pots. And I wanted to build beds. So I was looking at the best ways to do it. And I saw Leighton, I think it was, what was it? It was on a Shaping Fire episode. And he explained, it was a show about water, and I was really struggling to figure out my well water. So I thought, I'm going to try to connect with this guy. And I did. And he started talking to me about soil horizons versus just super soil for building a bed. And it made a lot of sense to me. So after doing a lot of my own research, trial and error, I decided to go all in, and now my whole facility is running on Horizonal soil beds.
Very cool.
It's rocking.
Yeah, that the one I did on water was really fascinating. There was just an article recently that came out that said that they truly believe that the water came in comet form, that it wasn't something that just naturally occurred on the planet. So it was funny because that was one of the points I made on that show, which was outlandish at the time, but it appears that is the way the water actually got here. But anyway, that's off topic. All right, Josh, let's kick it up with you. Oh, wait a minute. Travis is next in the clock. I'm sorry.
No worries.
I'm Travis Williams, cannabis cultivation manager at Taproot Fields, one of the founding members of Taproots. We started it back in 2018. It came to fruition, and we've been growing in the Horizonal soil system now for about close to a year. I'm going into my fourth cycle now. We're taking down our third round. So everything is working really well. I did a lot of preparation with Leighton to get these beds, the A Horizon, get the beds built out the way we wanted them. So that's basically my background on what I do.
Is it unusual to have 4 runs in a year? I mean, that sounds like a lot. Are you using
4 runs is what you're about to. Yeah, that's, you want to shoot for 4. You could pull off 5 with the right cultivars and doing.
I'm doing 5 right now.
There you go.
2 week veg in the beds, 8-week cycle.
There you go.
8-week flower.
Yeah, 8-week flower. Yeah. So if you got if you got a flower that's done in 56 days, you can pull it off.
Yep.
Damn.
I'll have a lot of questions for you, Tom, for sure.
Let's do it.
All right. Sorry, Josh.
Yeah. Well, I'm Josh. I'm Yellow Skunk Farms. Basically, everybody knows me on Instagram. That's where I started. And it kind of just blew up. We built a system based off Leighton's Horizonal soil system, and I went crazy with it and experimented with it for, 2 years or so in 30-gallon pots, 4x4 beds. Basically what, Tom and Travis are doing is, same thing I did, except I just kind of did it on a home version, basically, of what I wanted to do. And I kind of I saw the potential of incorporating a fish pond in the creek because of the water and the way the Horizonal system holds water. I saw the potential in creating what I did. So we went for it, and here we are.
Nice. All right. So, let's jump around. Let's open it up. Travis, what were your questions to Tom?
Oh, well, I mean, I guess the first one would be, I've Tom, I've listened to all your podcasts. That's why, like, when I was starting to really like dig into this, I started finding your podcast, and that's why I call you my hero, because I was like just listening to you for years, like trying to like get all the stuff that all the points that you had and all the stuff that you were working through. And one of the big questions that we're starting to get into, pheno hunting now, and I know you got really small space, and I've listened to you, like how you do your pheno hunts, and you're doing them under a 4x4 space with a 4x4 light.
Yeah,
okay.
I got 3 4x4s basically.
Okay, and you're doing how was it 72 plants underneath the 4x4? How many plants?
36.
36.
So
okay.
6x6.
6x6 pots.
Yeah. 6. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. No, I just wanted to ask you about the process you do, and because we have a very small space to do it as well, and we're just starting to get into it. We just did 15 seeds, so 5 seeds a piece of 3 strains. So I'm just wondering, because of the small space that you have and the small space that we have, like, if you could like walk us through how you do that. I don't know.
Well, it's pretty simple. It's just 3 trays of 4x4, one next to the other. I got 3 lights.
Yep.
And so we're really pot tight, just square pots, 6x6, so I can fit 36 on a 4x4. And the pots are a little small, like the plants will get root bound. So what I do is I took the idea of bottomless pot. So I have actually 3 pots, one on top of the other, right? So
wow.
Kind of ridiculous there, but so that's how I make it work. And yeah, for me, it's all about running as many plants as I can to sort of cull the ones that I know aren't working. And the ones that I know aren't working don't have vigor. You can tell by just, a small plant, if it has vigor or not. Does it have the look? Does it have the terps? And ultimately, in the end, does it have the THC testing? Right? Because for the market, for our market anyway, I'd be curious for your market. Our market is still very, very high THC focused. So I realized that I was getting nowhere running 10, 12, 20 plants if it's going to hit 32% THC. You need to be looking at hundreds of plants before you find something that you're actually satisfied with quality wise and hits the 30-some%, right?
Yeah.
Bottom line, that's how we do it. And you've probably heard me say it before. Once I cull all the stuff that I know isn't going to work, then I rerun in the beds.
Okay. So you're taking a clone off of, or are you taking multiple clones off of one plant, or just doing one clone, the top clone, and then keeping your keepers?
I have a veg room with everything backed up for sure. Yeah. So what I do, my trick for that is, again, we're limited on space, right? So all my backups for the pheno hunt, I deprive them of light and I don't water them properly. So I kind of have it down to actually slow down their growth as much as I can, and they're still keeping healthy. So I, like I said, just minimize the space. They don't get as big. They won't get as deficient if they're not working as hard. So that's how I do it there. Yeah.
So back it up. So you said you stack 3 pots on top of themselves. So you're getting like 12, 13,
18 inch or something like that?
Well, it's not that big. So what I do is I'll veg my clone a little bit before going in the R&D room in a small bottomless pot. And then it goes on top of a 1 gallon bottomless pot that's on top of my 6 by 6 inch pot. So it's kind of a small pot, then a bigger pot, then the main pot.
Wow.
That's
interesting.
Yeah, that prevents.
I'd like to see some pictures of that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'll post some on my Instagram, sure. And I run it like still, I know it's in pots, and it kind of has to be because I need to move my plants around. So when you're flowering that many different cultivars, you probably know as well as I do, like some will stretch, some won't. So as they flower, I need to be able to switch them around. So they all sort of make it. And I don't know where I was going with this, but yeah,
same thing.
Again, for being the reason being in pots versus beds, and I can actually run it regenerative. So what I do after a pheno hunt, even though they're all different cultivars, I take a representative sample, send it to the lab, just amend it based on that, and as usual, rely heavily on my compost, and I haven't had any issues. So as long as you just add a bunch of compost, you're just good, in my opinion. It's like do your best to balance nutrients based off of lab samples, but then just put a bunch of compost.
Josh, did you want to add something?
Well, what he was saying about bottomless pots, I do the same thing. And I do it just in my head. I was like, I just don't want to disturb the root zone, and I can move the plant in my bed because I have a huge bed. And like he was saying, some want to stretch and some don't. Like I have right now in my bed, I have this little runt. I just left it there because, I just want the roots in the soil, and I'm not on a, I'm not in a facility or anything. I'm not growing for business or anything like that. But I see what he's talking about. If I was, I would be wanting these bottomless pots to be able to, I could just stack, boom, boom, and I can be moving these pots until I get to the bed that I want to go. And then I haven't disturbed the roots. I have, they can just continue to grow right down into the bed. No interruptions. There's no, cutting the pot out and removing the, loosening up the roots and then transplanting it into another bed. It's just already in a bottomless pot. Yeah. So you just stick it right on top, man. It goes crazy. I mean, it's
one thing I learned, I'll tell you, is okay, if you have an established plant and you put it on soil that's not been tilled or nothing, zero problem. But if you take a clone that's just starting to root and you put it in that undisturbed soil, you're going to have problems. So just the soil around where your clone is going to start rooting, you should actually fluff it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And maybe that wouldn't be the case in a bed. It's the case in those smaller pots because they do get very root bound. And I'm curious what Leighton would say, but I think that it makes it, even though it's a very low tension soil, so it's peat moss pumice, it gets the tension gets a lot higher because of all those roots that are in there after a grow. And the reason why I say there's a much higher tension is that I see it in on the tensiometers. So let's say it's a soil that's never been used and I saturate it, I'll get maybe 25 on my blue mat. But let's say I saturate a pot that I've ran a bunch of times that has a bunch of roots in it, saturated, it'll be like 12 instead of 25. So the tension is much higher in those pots, and a clone won't do well if you just put it straight in.
Right.
Yeah. Like the time I did that, it backed me up like 2 weeks before the clones could snap out of it.
So are you attributing the tension due to the leftover roots that haven't quite disintegrated yet in the pot?
Exactly, because I do runs back to back. Right? Like the day I harvest, I'm ready to go for another one. Mm-hmm. Like the pheno hunting is serious because the market demands high THC and the market demands variety.
Yeah.
right? So people don't just want to smoke the same thing over and over. You have to have a lot of cuts.
Yeah. We're running 6 to 8 cuts per round. I'm splitting beds.
Yeah,
so, which is, I mean, it's not ideal. I'd rather just be running one strain per bed.
Sure. It's a lot more complicated.
Oh my God. Just to get your canopies level, I'm like, okay, well, what's this strain going to do with this strain? And I nailed it last time pretty good. It was my last round was really even canopies for doing 6 different strains.
Yeah. Well, I have rows of lights. I was talking about that last week, actually, and each row is on a different controller. So I can have more intensity on some parts of the room versus others, depending on cultivar I'm growing, because I'm doing multiple strains almost every round right now.
Yeah.
Mainly because I doubled in the recent years, I doubled my yield per square foot. So I'm actually able to do a half and half room and get as much yield per strain as I used to.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how did you adjust for that, Travis? One is growing quick than the other isn't.
Well, I mean, I tried to figure out what strains were going to grow with each other. And so I have light movers. And so I can adjust my lights to, the canopy. So my light movers, we like to keep them about 4 feet, keep our lights about 4 feet off the canopy. And I never run these lights at 100%. Like I'm running them at like 20%, 4 feet off the canopy during veg, and then we ramp them up to maybe right around 60% for about 1,000 par. So that, that was a big factor in how we worked around that. But yeah, no, I've like last round gave me a phobia. I grew the cap junkie, and the cap junkie was next to the trop cherry. And the cap junkie was like growing almost into the lights. And so this round I got a phobia, and I flipped a little bit too fast on some of the strains, and I could have went another week, I think, at least on about 4 of the strains, especially the Crazy Madness. It grew really vigorous, huge leaves, and this is a strain I bred, and I thought it was just going to explode, and I could have went at least another week on the veg for that.
So what we do, I'll tell you, if I know I'm doing side by side a tall plant versus a bushier plant, the tall one, when I flip, we really knock them down, like kind of low stress training there.
Yeah.
So hardcore, and then I lay a trellis on top of that. Okay. So when they want to come back up, they're forced down.
Yeah.
And then the bushier plant, I don't do that. Right. So it's not perfect, but that's the way I try to deal with that. Yeah.
You chain her down.
No, I really want to start throwing some sativas, and my friend's got a really good Cali mist from 20 some years ago, and Aaron Field just grew it for the first time in his greenhouse. But he's got higher his lights. He's running double endeds, so he was able to just keep them stationary. And that, I don't know, that I think that plant got like 9 foot tall, but a really nice. The Cali mist is like the old school. It smells like, I call it dirty hippie. It smells like armpit funk. And it's like 100% sativa. There is no mistaken. I mean, it gets your heart fluttering for sure.
I've never tried growing Cali mist, but I know all about it. Serious Seeds bred it.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Serious Seeds. They only did. I mean, they called it Serious Seeds. They only did really 6 varieties. I don't know if I could name them all, but
they have Double Dutch.
Okay.
They do. I've grown a bunch over the years.
AK-47.
AK-47, White Russian.
White Russian. Yep.
Yeah.
And there was like a Serious 6 or something like that. What was?
There's Motivation.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a cut I grew a lot. Yeah.
I met those guys at a Cannabis Cup over here years ago in California, out in San Bernardino, and then ran into them again over in Spain a couple times. Really nice guys.
I'll tell you the problem with that right now is that, and I'd like your opinion on that, is everything like what the market expects flower to be right now. There almost needs to be Girl Scout cookies somewhere in the family tree.
Right.
It's all so if Girl Scout cookies isn't involved, it's just not modern cannabis right now. So I'll tell you, like, I was always tempted to throw in pheno hunts with nothing related to Girl Scout cookies. And we never, ever ran it commercially because it doesn't check those like super exotic boxes. The look, the bag appeal is not what is considered modern right now. Like if you grow a beautiful BC Godbud, I've never grown that cut, but it's probably not what the market wants right now. And it probably doesn't hit 30% THC,
Right.
So I bet you none of the serious seeds genetics hit over 30.
Right.
It's just not what they're bred for.
Right.
It's too bad, but
that cap junk we grew, that was in the 30s. There's only been a few that's been in the 30s, and it's all breeding work. I think there's a new group of breeders, Arcana Collective, and it's like it's Josh D, Shane Yoakum, Sonny Chiba, Fuji, Kaya. I don't know if you know Kaya. He does. He's up in Washington. He bred the coffee, and Ghost OG.
Yeah.
And that's a new breeding group coming out, and they got a lot of old school genetics, and they're doing heavy sifts. So really check them out. I'll send you some links on those guys, but they're doing some really heavy breeding work. Chem Dog's also in there as well.
Yeah.
So those are the 6 breeders, and that I'm really watching those guys closely. I'm friends with Shane, and Michael Klein's the guy backing those guys, and it's they're like, I'm hearing like they're doing like 600 calling like 600 males at a time. I'm like, how are you guys doing that? Like on a conveyor belt? So
you if you want cuts from those guys, can you get them?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There you go. That's my disadvantage. I'm in Canada. It's a lot harder.
A lot harder. Yeah. What about seeds?
That's more doable.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'll make that happen for you for sure, because I'm going to start testing out some genetics for those guys here pretty soon.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Let's keep in contact.
For sure.
Believe it or not, it's crazy to say, but when you're talking about a breeder cut or, a famous cut, whatever, I've never grown one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Pretty much.
It's so tough for you to get them.
Yeah, I have no access.
Right.
And if I do, it's from sources that I don't trust. Right. So I don't take the risk.
Right. So you're doing all of yours is basically phenos. You're hunting.
Everything is from seeds.
Everything's from seed.
That I find keepers and I keep cuts. That's it.
Nice.
So I'd love to grow a well-renowned cut just to know like what's the standard, how better, how different is it from my selections?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
it's really hard to get your hands on one and trust it around here.
Right. I know you were saying you were doing pheno hunts of some top dog genetics, and you said that you found a really nice keeper out of a pack from JJ.
I love it, and I'm keeping it. I bred with it too, so I have seeds of it.
Nice.
But it didn't do well on the market. It's not what people wanted, and there's no cookies in it.
There's no cookies. Yeah, right. Oh man,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's nasty, gassy, right? But it doesn't have the look. It's a little ugly.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's beautiful,
Right.
but
Right.
it's not like crazy diamond frost, you know?
Right. Right. Right.
You know?
Yeah. It seems like it's almost got to check. You know, there's like the 5 boxes you can check, but there's almost like more boxes that you need to check. When
I would grow that top dog cut if it was me. I love the smoke. I love the high. Love the high.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite cuts, but right now it's just not what the market's looking for. Market's looking for, runts this and you know how it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now.
Anyway. We got one of our favorites, one of my personal favorites. It's a Crazy Runts. It was bred by Exotic Genetics, and it's a lemon tree back cross, and that was crossed to his cookies and cream.
Yeah.
So it was called Bonkers. And then he reversed this Runts and hit the pollen to that Bonkers, and they called it Crazy Runts.
Okay.
And this is like, I don't know, I've smoked this plant with, hundreds, if not thousands of people, and it's everybody, you can see people's reaction when they hit it. They look at you like, what's that? And it's like, that's how I think you got something special.
Yeah, for sure.
You can really you could smoke it with a stranger at a concert and they look at you like, whoa. When they ask you and you get that reaction, they ask you what that is, that was, we
Well,
knew.
I'd say in general, like just growing the way we're growing, you and I, you give your weed to somebody that just tries it randomly, and most of the time you get that that response, like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah.
Even if it's not that much of a good cut, it's still so much better than
for sure. I just glitter bomb for the first time, and that's a blueberry cross. I would have to look at it. It's an OGKB blueberry. I have to look at the lineage of it. I'll look it up here.
Yeah.
But
even OGKB, you're still talking about cookies genetics. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
Nothing wrong with it. Like, at least the trend is good.
Right.
Like, it's good weed. So at least that.
So are you guys seeing a lot of gelatos up there still? A lot of gelato crosses? Like that's still pretty prominent.
I'll tell you what, man, a lot of the latest pheno hunts I've been doing has all been from Seed Junkie seeds.
Nice. Yeah, Seed Junkies.
And the reason being is I think that he breeds with lab testing.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing a lot of success with high testers. So for now, I've kind of quit all other breeders because of that.
Well, that's where our Arcana group is doing the same thing. So I can't wait for you to. I'm definitely going to get you some of their genetics. You'll be
okay. Cool. Because the breeder that you're going with, if you're buying seeds, they have to be breeding for high THC, or else it's not happening.
Oh, for sure.
It's not happening. I'm running hundreds of seeds and not one is hitting high enough.
Right.
What a waste of time.
Yeah. Seed Junkie. We had a LA Kush cake that I got back in 2018, and we still have it around. It's my girlfriend's favorite cut. It's amazing. It hits out at 29%. Tastes just absolutely amazing. And I don't know, it was a pack that I got for $150. It was one of the only packs that was in that collection that was regular. I usually buy regular seeds.
But I ran that pack too. I didn't have any luck on it, but
okay. Was it the mint collection where it said mints?
I don't remember, but for some weird reason, I think mine might have been feminized. Is it possible that he released a feminized version?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Maybe not. It was an old pack. It must have been regs. I say that. It must have been regulars. I'm not sure.
So Will brings up a point. Let's roll Josh into the conversation. How you get your seeds or your cuts, Josh?
I'm all from seed. Everything I do is from seed, and it's most of the time it's locals. I'm running a Jolly Pond Farms right now, which he's actually out of Roanoke, and Travis was saying he was ended up going to Roanoke this year for a wedding, but he's actually down there, and he's got what I'm running right now is a Marmalade Grove is what it's called, and it's a pretty much, if you see the picture of it, or if you go on my site there, it's pure sativa. It's got a lot of, it's like a cotton candy bubble gum. It is, if you watch my YouTube today, I was actually just rubbed it, and every day it's gaining a little bit more potency. Every day I rub this, the leaf there, and I'm just like, yesterday it was like pure cotton candy, just straight like a little bit of gas, and now it's like more like bubble gum, cotton candy, a little cushy, and that's what it is. It's kush. It's a bunch of different stuff that he crossed. It's cotton candy kush crossed with an apricot orange, and then it's Sky Cuddle Kush.
Sky Cuddler, yeah.
It's a couple other different things in there that I can't remember, but it's the skinniest leaves, tall, lanky, just like the sativas that you want to see. But this is a seed run for me, so the buds just aren't going to get as big as probably they normally would. But the flavor, the smell, the flavor, the seeds that are forming inside the buds now are starting to plump up. We're day 44, I think, in flower. So I'm really starting to see them start to fatten up in there, and starting to bust out.
Yeah, because you're doing some breeding work now, right? You're kind of doing
my first time.
Oh, your first time, okay.
Yeah, it's my first time doing it, and I just picked a male that I liked, and I went completely off of the smell, the stem rub and veg. So the stem rub and the leaf rub, like I was popping off leaves, and like when I popped the leaf off, I would snap the branch, or the leaf branch, and smell it. And the one that had that funk and the stem rub is the one I kept, and I just let it go into pollen. We pollinated the whole room, so we're gonna see what we get. And it, like I said, it's my first time doing it. And other than that, I have the one that I accidentally crossed. It was from Nerds Genetics. Robbie at Nerds Genetics
out of Colorado.
Yeah. He had Daddy Fat Sacks, and I bought those 3 or 4 years ago. Probably 4 years ago now. So hell, now it's 2006. It's probably 5 years ago now. Damn. But that was his blueberry. No, I'm sorry, not blueberry. That was his shit. What's that damn strain? It's a cross between Airborne G13 and Blue Dream. The San Diego cut, I believe, Blue Dream, and that's what he crossed. And then I accidentally crossed that with a Blueberry OG crossed with Skunk #1 with AK-47, I believe. It's also AK-47. So it's AK-47, Blueberry OG, and Skunk #1 crossed with the Blue Dream and the Airborne G13. So that mixture, I grew that out. I've grown that out 3 times. That's what's in the bed now. The third time I grew it, it tested 28% THC. It was a lemon, lime, like I called it like more of like a Mr. Clean type thing, and that's kind of what I'm getting now in it. Like when I rub it, it's like a pine sol lemon craziness, funk, almost like a foot funk lemon Mr. Clean type thing going on. So it's kind of crazy.
So Josh, why did you let the pollen go everywhere in your room? And so
I told her I was going jungle style with it. I was just going to go jungle style. We were going to pollinate everything. And then I knew that I was going to do this early in the run. So I removed the male once now I've got the pollen. It's going to give me like, another month and a half to basically get rid of all the other pollen that's scattered all over the place. Plus I'm in an environment that's super moist. And I know pollen doesn't really like moisture. Mm-hmm. So anything that's what a lot of people were scared of. Like, you're spreading pollen, next run's going to have, everything's going to have seeds on every run from here on out, you're going to have seeds. And I'm like, no, a good little rain shower in there. Let's like a little rain, moist everything down, and all that pollen will just go right down into the soil and into the creek and into the pond and completely be irrelevant after that.
So that's why you did it. You just went.
Is that correct? That's
yeah? No, you're spot on. If the humidity is high enough, the pollen instantly dies. So
that's what I figured. Yeah. So
and you've got the waterfall, you got the creek, you got the humidity. So.
Yeah, my environment's totally different than like a tent area. You know what I mean?
Or commercial grow.
Or commercial grow, correct. Yeah, it's like I'm watering totally different. Everything about this grow is different, set up in the horizontal system. Like, these guys are different because they're growing in a horizontal soil system in a commercial grow. Like, nobody fucking does that. I mean, not too many people have the balls to do that and run with it. Because it is new. Nobody's. I haven't heard of anybody other than these two guys here doing it commercially, not in a horizontal way. Like, I know a guy out in California, what's his?
Green Light Production.
Green Life is in Nevada, yes.
Yeah, Steve Cantwell. He's got an awesome system out there.
Yeah, his system is different though. He's basically like an organic system.
Correct. Like, he's using like compost. He's just doing compost. Boom, boom, layering it. He's on like 30-some, 40-some runs, just boom, adding his compost. Like what Tom is talking about there. And I'm curious as a question from me to Tom is that, and both of you, Travis, because both of you are running the same system. Had y'all run systems previously to this, and what are the differences that you see in the growth? And do you think that the cannabis roots are breaking down into that sand, into that moisture reservoir area? And are you seeing a big difference in flavor and like your terpene production and compared to what you were growing before the horizontal system? Because this is like I said, I've been playing with this for 5 years now, but and I've gotten to this point, and my whole system is watered totally different than y'all's. So I'm flooding the system like constantly. And you guys, I guess, are using irrigation. Is that how you're doing it? I'll ask Tom first.
I'm bottom watering.
So you're filling up your reservoir like a earth box, so to speak.
I guess so. Yeah, my beds are on trays, so I flood the trays, and I let the wicking do the job. I've tried many ways. Messed around with tensiometers a lot, top to water a whole bunch. And for me, it really came down to figuring out where I was going to maximize yield and get the best smoke. And bottom line, if I put a bunch of effort in top watering and maintaining moisture through tensiometers, versus just simplifying and just bottom watering, there's like no difference. The yield is as good with bottom watering and the smoke is as good. So I'm like full bottom water now.
And so you're not worried about like the microorganisms or anything in the top drying out?
Well, no, like I water from the top too, but
you're just
not calculated.
Right. I got
it. Sense where it's more of keeping the top moist.
Right.
But I'm not like, oh, the tensiometer is saying this. I dried bag this much. I'm going to water this much. No, it's like the same top watering every day. Every day I top water, but just to keep the top moist. So like 95% of my watering needs is bottom wicking.
So it's just like capillary reaction. You're just
Exactly
watering from the bottom. Now, how big are your beds? Like, what's your basin on the bottom there? Like, how much more wider is it than your beds?
It's basically, I don't remember exactly, but it's about on each side, maybe like 2 inches wider than my beds, my trays. But that being said, when you fill them with soil, I got it, like, I was lucky I got it just right. Because if my trays were a little bit more narrow, like, it wouldn't work out.
Right.
So I did really well getting them. I think about 4 inches wider my trays than what I ordered my beds. And at each end, I might have like 6 inches or something, just enough that I can water from the bottom. But matter of fact, I have a watering hose or whatever you want to call it that goes about 4 feet in the bottom. So it's not like I just water right there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Spreading out along
the
bottom of the reservoir.
You have an actual. So inside your bed, you have a tube that goes down in.
Yeah. So the trays that I have are like just classic trays that you see Rockwool guys.
Yeah.
And they have like little channels everywhere. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I guess when you would do Rockwool, those channels are used to drain. So if they do, for example, if they make their Rockwool or their cocoa run off, then the water goes in those channels and they can drain those trays. You know what I'm saying? So I can easily pass a hose in one of those channels and go a good 4 or 6 feet down. And that's where my water actually goes. Gotcha. You know what I mean?
So
well, you see that channel right there. You see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a classic like hydro type of tray. Mm-hmm. And I use those I got those on Amazon. It's just a float switch to make sure that my water never goes too high.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So you'll have a shut off. So like, how much water, I mean, I don't know how long your beds are, but like, how much water when you do a watering event, how much water are you using? Like, how many gallons?
It absolutely depends on my watering needs, but I water every day. So I don't know, man. Like, I just let it go with the shut off thing. So it's hard to tell you an exact.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And what I like to do is I don't fully trust those little floaters. Mm-hmm. So I have a timer, and in the morning, I'll let the pump go for 45 minutes. And usually I'd say that's about, give or take, 100 gallons. Okay. And then I have my timer set that every hour it runs for 15 minutes. Right. So if there's no water in the tray, it fills the tray. If the tray is already full, it doesn't fill it. And what happens is through the day, I feel like I really water just the amount that the bed wants to wick up, but I never see water really just staying there stagnant. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Kind of my idea, where I don't let that water just always be there. It's always wicking actively through the day. And then at night, my timer's off. I don't water.
Okay.
Are you pulling any of that water out of the air, like with the dehumidifiers?
Big time. So you have to know about how much water you're watering, because it's very important to calculate how much dehumidification you need. Because Leighton, or anyone, correct me if I'm wrong, but plants will transpire about 98% of the water that they drink. So you need to be able to pull out from the room about 98% of the water that you're giving to your plants. So if I'm watering 200 gallons a day, I need to be able to dehumidify almost 200 gallons a day. You know what I'm saying? So yes, dehumidification is like the hardest part of my grow, because I'm running Quest dehumidifiers, and they really suck. So
You running the 506s?
Yeah. Don't get Quest 506s. They're pieces of shit now. They were good before. They were good like 10 years ago or something. Not anymore.
So would you go
constantly be working on those? What's that, sir?
Would you go Andon next time, or that's the?
Well, you know what? The company that owns Quest just bought Andon.
Oh.
Although, I have like 10 Quest 506s. They all had endless issues. I have about 10 Andons, and I've never had an issue. So yes, Andon is 100% better than Quest, but now they're the same company. So one of my friends owns a big HVAC company, big HVAC. And we're trying to like talk to them and say, hey, like you should step in the market and make a reliable DHU, because there's no options right now. I don't know if that's going to happen, but they're thinking about it, because I'm like at the point where I need to build my own DHUs now. What about you, man? Like, what do you use for DHUs?
We got the 506s, and
are you having problems?
Yeah, we're having problems, and
okay.
That's funny. We're having this talk right now. And that's why I said Andon would. What's your other option? And I think we could have went with less DHUs if we went with Andon and not the Quests.
Yeah, Andon. If I would have known, man, I would have went all Andon, but I didn't know. So
yeah.
So as they're failing, I'm swapping to Andons.
Gotcha.
Frigidaire, baby. Frigidaire over here.
Well, you know what? Are those like 50 pint DHUs? Like those standalone?
I just got a standard 1,500 square foot Frigidaire DHU sitting up on a table, just dumping right back into my creek.
Yeah, so those are way more reliable than these commercial DHUs that we're talking about. And they actually dehumidify what they say. Like if it's a 50 pint, it actually does 50 pint and it will run forever. So your DHUs are better than mine. And I pay triple the price per pint of DHU.
Yeah, these are like $250 on Amazon.
Yeah. So per pint of dehumidification, Travis and I are paying about triple the price, and it's insulting.
Yeah, I haven't had any issues with mine. It's just been running. I mean, it runs, cuts off when it gets I set it at 55. It'll cut off at 55. Keeps the room right at 55.
Oh yeah, I run that in my R&D room. I run that in my bedroom. And sometimes if I need extra dehumidification, I'm all set up in my grow room where I can put one in each corner. And I have condensate pumps, and I can pump out the water automatically. So I actually use them quite a bit because they're a lot better.
Yeah, well, they're made. That's what the company's built around that. So that's what they build. Frigidaire.
I don't actually have Frigidaires, to be honest with you, but just comparable like hardware store type of.
Yeah. They got 150 years of research, so they can't go wrong, really. If they get it wrong, everybody's gonna get it wrong.
Yeah, no, it's the way to go for your size of grow.
Yeah, so I'd love to go back to the question that Josh asked you guys. It's something that I've theorized for a long time, that when a root penetrates the E horizon and actually gets down into the sand, that as it sloughs off or is no longer needed by the plant itself, that it's more or less retracting most of the organic matter up into the root ball to provide that last little bit of energy to the root ball, even post plant removal. And so nobody that I know of has ever torn one of these systems apart after using it for a while to see if and how much organic matter has built up in the Horizon. But to be honest, Josh, in theory, or my hypothesis is that after studying plant reactions like in summer when they slough their roots off because there's not enough water, that there's actually a lot of that organic carbon is pulled back up through the root and is used in the root ball in other plant processes. But it's a good question, and it's always been kind of a mystery. But the oldest grow I know, commercial grow, was in Colorado. They've since changed their name. They're hash makers, and I forget what their name is, but they're in over the mountain. I know we've talked about these guys in the past.
Is it Eden?
Eden, yeah, there you go.
Eden Naturals, yeah.
Yeah. And so he's been in it for since 18. So that's a minute. That's 8 years now, and he has never had an issue with the E-Rosin going anaerobic. But
I ran an experiment for this. It's been 3 years ago when I first started this. When I first started playing with the sand, silt, and clay and organic matter from the creek here on my property. And what I did was I did exactly what you told me to do, is that I brought it up in a bucket and I spread it out on my driveway and let the sun basically cook out all that smell, all that bad smell, because it's basically like it's got a thick organic layer on top. It's just black. And when I stick a shovel down, man, it's just worms and everything right on the edge of this creek leading into the reservoir. I have to go down about 4 inches before I start to see the sand and the silt and the clay. And so I remove the organic matter and just take the sand, the silt, and clay from around the edge of the creek. I bring that up. I spread it out on the driveway. I let the sun cook it for like 2 weeks. I can literally watch the wind blow it away. That's how silty it is. So then I take a broom and I sweep it all back up, put it into a pile. I put it into a bucket, and I poured that into a grow tray. All right, and then I watered it, and it still has all the organic matter, but it's just pure sand, silt, clay, organic matter in a tray that I've basically composted with the sun. Every seed I put in there popped. Okay, every single one. Didn't matter. Popped. And I was like, damn. But the seed would only get like this big. It would get to a point, and then it would just die off. And I was like, okay, it just needs more. So I bet if I put this seed in a pot, pop this seed in a. What I did was put some sand, silt, and clay in a paper towel. All right, wetted the paper towel, put my seeds in the sand, silt, and clay in the paper towel, fold the paper towel up, put the paper towel in a plastic baggie. All the seeds popped, popped inside that sand, silt. And I took the seed out and I placed it in a root riot, all right, the little root riot things. And then I put the root riot in a cow pot, and I cut the bottom of the cow pot off. And I set the cow pot down inside of the tray with the sand, silt, and clay. And I let the plant grow through the root right down through the cow pot, and it matted the fucking tray. Like literally matted the tray with roots. All the sand, silt, and clay. The plant got huge, big, beautiful. Never had any problems. I was like, that's it right there. That was my light bulb moment about putting this into a system, this sand, silt, clay, organic matter that's already full of life, of microbiology from the creek in the pond, in the reservoir down here. So I didn't have to inoculate it, and I knew that the cannabis roots loved it. As long as they had that buffer of soil to go through, Then I was like, hey, all I gotta do is layer that sand and silt. Use that as my horizon, as my E horizon. I think it's E horizon on the bottom, or is it A?
No, E is the sand layer.
E
stands. Yeah, E stands for alluvial.
Right, EAO. So I was going to use that as my E layer, and then I knew that sand and silt was going to continue to break down. So what I did was just place a red clay layer, a 1 inch, about 1 inch, maybe a little less than 1 inch of red clay that I have here on my property, because that was what I was seeing when I stuck a shovel down into the ground. I was going organic matter, sand, silt, clay. Then I was getting into that red clay here on my property. So I was like, I bet if I put that layer of red clay, and then on top of that sand, silt, and clay, which is filling in all my rocks, my pebbles, and everything, my pea gravel, and I'm filling it all the way up, and then I'm putting that red clay layer, and then I'm putting my soil, my super soil, basically on top of that. And then in order to wick that water up out of the creek to get my watering correct, I was just going to add that layer of that sand and silt, just like I had it in the tray. I was going to put that on top of my soil. And once I realized that the worms and everything were just completely destroying, just breaking it all down, running through all that stuff that I was lining up on the side of the creek and bringing up out of the creek and into my soil, the worms on the edge of the creek, just like down here on my property. Like when I stuck the shovel in the ground, that's what I got right on the edge with worms. They weren't in the creek. They were just off to this edge, right where all that aeration is and all that fish poo and all that other, all that microbacteria is built up on the edge of that creek. And I was just mind blown about like how many worms I was seeing. So when I put it into the system, it only took like a couple of months before the worms had just completely integrated off of the creek's edge and just worked all that sand and silt that was on top of my soil and worked it all in through the soil naturally, giving me that nice organic, like worm casting stuff right on top of my soil. And then I was like, holy shit. Like all I gotta do is just keep adding sand and silt to the edge of the creek and then they keep extending it over. And that's all I really need for these worms to continue to break down all this organic matter that I'm chopping and dropping, on top. And it just, I did, instead of mixing, like I hear Tom and Travis, they were mixing, like you were teaching Leighton to mix, get this, it was a 70% sand and clay ratio. You want to get this mixture in your soil at a certain ratio. It ain't got to be perfect, but you want to be at these certain ratios of sand, silt, clay, organic matter. And in my head, I was like, well, in order to get that perfection naturally, it has to be done naturally by worms, by all the microbiology and the arthropods and the critter, everything does it for me. It mixed it into the soil layer where it needed to be, naturally into that top layer. And I mean, it's unbelievable the results that I'm getting and not have to do anything.
That brings up a real good question. Tom and Travis, have you released any worms into your beds, or are you even allowed?
No, I have, yeah.
Are you seeing it really mix and like them turn that sand?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I wanted to ask Tom, you don't really use cover crop, do you?
I don't know. I've tried, and for me, the benefits of it, like dealing with it on a slight scale, is just not really worth it. Like, I don't think I'd be really getting better results. I think for now, it's just simpler. And I'm just sticking with that.
Yeah, no, I started off with dichondra, and I noticed dichondra just keeps going. I had a root mat.
Mat, yep.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna, maybe move away from it. So I wanted to ask you, like, what are you using for your top mulch?
Exactly what you just saw there, straw. That's it.
Straw.
It's super easy because it doesn't break down for some reason. So what I do after every grow, we just have an SOP of after harvest what we do, but we pull it all off. Then we spread the compost. If I need to amend, I amend right there. Then we just put it back.
Okay. So when you brought that in, I mean, you don't test it or anything. There's no.
It's from a certified organic farm. So
okay.
It doesn't.
Well, I'm not worried about that so much. But like we tested our straw one time, and it was loaded with aspergillus, and so I was like, I moved away from it, and I went to start doing live mulch and. I don't know. I wanted to ask you guys, and this would be a question for Leighton as well, is, when you guys are, when you're making, let's just say I want to start using cannabis waste. I know, Tom, you said that Leighton's taught you some recipes for making compost using your cannabis waste. I'd love to start doing that. And I was thinking about drying my stalks because I have a bunch, drying those stalks, chopping those, and using that as my mulch layer.
Yeah, you could. I'd be scared of stuff. Well, since it's dry, maybe it's fine.
Right.
I'd just be scared of decomposing insects. For example, rove beetles, their population going out of whack, maybe, and causing problems with insects going up your plants and sticking in your buds. That's happened to me with chopping and dropping. That's why I stopped and I went to composting. So would that happen? I don't know. Dry stalks too, I don't really think would properly cover your soil. I don't think.
Right.
Maybe it would. Just imagine like those big, stalks everywhere. I don't know. Maybe.
Well, I'd run it through a chipper. I'd mulch.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
There's a company out in California. I'm blanking right now. I think it's Worm Kings, or I have to look them up real quick. But Soil Kings. Not the Soil King. That's Patrick. It's look it up real quick. But anyways, they're taking their cannabis waste and they're running it through the mulcher and they're using that as their mulch. So I don't know. I'm trying to figure out some alternatives. I'm a little nervous about bringing in straw, just because I don't want to bring any problems into my grow.
100%. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
I
have a source that has never failed me in the last 5 years or so. So it's all good. What was your problem when you tested yours?
Aspergillus.
It's a fungi.
Oh God, it's a microbial that we get tested for here. And so if we fail for aspergillus, you have to run you have to IRAD your stuff. So run it through, radiate it. And
is it something that would spread to your flower?
It could. I mean, a big reason, like I don't really want to chop and drop either, because it's like it forms from like rotting material. So if you have rot, aspergillus. So if you have, we correlated some problems we had with botrytis to aspergillus, and it's just something we get tested for here. If we fail those counts, you're screwed. And,
well, let's say you tested any soil. Would aspergillus be absent? Or is it not just like a natural thing?
No, guys, aspergillus is basically a fungi that really is prolific at sporulation. So in a moist environment, it's going to just throw spores everywhere. It's present in all organic. You can't get away from it. It's everywhere.
So that's kind of what I'm saying. Like if he tested his straw was positive for it, is it possible that no matter what, your soil has it too?
Yeah. It's the wrong environment that allows it to proliferate. And
There
that's,
you go. So
that's
correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe Travis's straw was a non-issue.
well,
It
what
And I would have loved to have known. This was early on before I even got into the Horizonal system.
Right.
We were putting straw, and we were kind of doing like the lasagna tech where we put straw down and then put some, it would just keep the straw was actually breaking down because we were loading it with we had cover crops going through it, and we were chopping and dropping.
Okay, because one thing I learned is like if you would test your soil, you would test positive for a ton of stuff that would fail your flower. And at the beginning of my licensed career, I was very paranoid in my flower failing testing because everyone was telling me that I was going to fail, basically, because I wasn't in synthetics. So I started testing everything, and I was like, oh my God, like there's E. coli in my fucking soil. Like I can't fucking deal with this.
Yeah,
but
right.
then I learned that there's different strains of E. coli no matter what, everywhere in your life, and no matter what, it's going to be in your soil. And then I started realizing, okay, it's all in my soil. It's not going in my flower, and my flower is passing every single time. So yeah, I'm not saying this is the case because I don't even know the fungi that you're talking about. I know nothing about it, but there's a possibility, is there, that it was present in your straw, but it would maybe be present in any straw? Would you say, Leighton?
So I would say no.
No. Okay.
And again, the concentrations were probably due to mishandling it. So if it got too moist
or storing,
if it got too moist, or if it was cut and not dried properly, then the aspergillus would explode in the center of the hay bale or straw bale. And then once you open it up, now you're releasing all those spores into the environment. If those spores do land on a flower, especially in flower, the aspergillus is gonna start to populate that. So that's where it's really important that you understand that in those right environments, like where that straw that was contaminated comes in contact with your moist soil, that's a breeding pit. That's a problem area. Now, if the straw was cooked, like left in the sun till it was just golden brown, then you would kill off the live fungus, but the spores would still be present, but they're going to probably get blown away or washed away in the rain. But again, I don't want you guys to play with those kinds of dangerous things.
Yeah.
I think to going back to cannabis stalks, I saw a guy in Connecticut, a pretty heavy duty hemp farmer who was an extractor. So all the hemp farmers would grow for him his cultivars, and they'd bring the crop to him, and he'd do extractions. He was also running a ton of starter plants for a lot of the farmers who got in the game a little bit too late in the year, and they needed like a potted plant, not just a cutting or a seed. So he had like greenhouses full of these, 6 to 8, 12-inch tall plants that could just go right into the field. And I suggested to him, hey, you got mountains of stalks out here. Why aren't you chipping them and putting those on top of your soil to protect it from drying out? And he ran with that and had tremendous success.
Well, maybe that's the way to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the key is it has to be super dry. You don't want it to be green when you grind.
Well, it has to be super dry to run it through the chipper.
Right.
And so that company I was telling you about they're called No Till Kings, and they're out of Venice, I want to say. Younger kids, but man, check out their grow. I've been following them for a long time. They got some YouTube.
So that's what they do?
That's what that's what they've been doing. Their last post, I just looked it up. They're showing they're using their cannabis stalks for their top mulch.
Nice.
And
I use all my cannabis stalks. I use it I've stopped using wood chips. Just stopped dealing with it. It was just complicated to get. So all my carbon is my dried stalks. So
Right.
if I'm bringing in a big de-leaf event, let's say day 21, well, I've got a bunch of dry stocks to mix with it. So that's what I do. So my compost used to have a lot of wood chips. Now it's actually 100% cannabis.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have a problem getting wood chips. We get those dropped off for free from a tree service, which is really nice.
Well, couldn't you use that?
I could, and I just don't want to go heavy with it. I really want to like get those like aged pretty well. And I don't want to use fresh because it'd be too high in nitrogen. It'd be stealing my nitrogen. But I was out at Collective Elevation in Montana. It's another living soil. It's one of the biggest living soil facilities in the country. They just did a show. It's I think it's Canna Cribs, or whatever. But I visited those guys last year, and I was Adam's the owner, and I was like right in the front of the line, like asking so many questions. And I was just like, yeah, you guys aren't really using cover crops. They got away from it. And so I'm watching more and more people kind of get away from the cover crops because of the problems that it's given them, especially in a commercial system. So I'm trying to figure out what's the best alternative to go to for my top malters. And he was using wood chip, but they were aged wood chips, and they were running them through an autoclave. And so he had a company down the street that he could run his chips through this autoclave, and so he knew he was bringing in clean product to put on his beds.
Good. Like I said, I'm using the same straw over and over, so I'm not too scared of contamination.
Right.
Once in a while, I bring in a new bale from that same source. Again, never had any problems, but like
you said, your top watering pretty daily.
Yeah, just to keep the top moist, because if I'm just bottom watering, well, yeah, my top layer is gonna stay a little dry. The other trick I can give you is that I find that I have to water the ends of my beds heavily. I was talking about it with Leighton last week. I don't know if there's some kind of wicking that's going on that's more concentrating the water towards the middle of the beds, and the ends of the beds get disadvantaged, or what it is. But I find if I want my canopy to stay even in the 3 first weeks of flower, especially, I water heavily those ends. So it depends on your water pressure. Obviously, I'll do it with a hose. It's quick because it's just the ends. I'll do 30 seconds per 4x4. So like just a give or take, I don't know, maybe that's like 2 gallons of water per day from the top, on top of bottom watering.
So is your bed separate, or are they just one full bed?
It's just one full bed.
But you have 4x4 troughs.
Yeah. So when I say 4x4, you know how you have your whole bed set up with those PVC pipes there. So that's what's sort of holding your beds together. You see a couple popped off there. That's what I mean by a 4x4. Yeah. But the whole bed is a one piece. Mine are 45 feet.
Gotcha. Yeah, ours are 64 and a little bit wider. I could possibly water from the bottom. Another guy that's doing this system is Aaron Field. He's right. Aaron Fields. He's right in right in my neck of the woods, and he's he's kind of like a mentor to me, and doing the living soil. And I wouldn't say kinda. He is my mentor for going this direction. And it'd be nice to get him on this show one time, because he's doing the bottom feed as well. And he used cedar he didn't go grassroots. He went cedar, and he put a pipe. Oh God, I want to say it's about 6 inches, maybe 4 inches. And the way he waters from the bottom, but they put perforated holes in this pipe, and that pipe goes all the way down his bed. And the way he waters, just runs his hose in that 4-inch pipe, and just lets it go until it fills up. And that's how he waters daily. And he's using rainwater.
Okay. I had that exact idea at first to do that.
Yeah.
But then I tried just flooding my trays, and I couldn't believe how well the water was spreading. So I was like, okay, well, that's it. Like, I'm not doing anything more complicated.
I think I'm going to run some tests on this because I have the way my beds are set up. I have, well, as far as what?
Was that, sorry?
I thought you said to not run a test.
No, I said you should. You should.
Okay, yeah, because I have I have a liner. It's a rubber roofing on the bottom of our bed. So, and we don't have much space though on the sides. But I think if I could run water, it'll go down that full bed because the beds they're leveled. But the way I've been watering is with those C-frame down sprayers, and that's the way I've been top watering.
Well, that looks beautiful. The reason why I didn't go with that is because I don't have enough pumps. If you want to water them, if you want that that mist to work properly, I talked to the supplier, and I would have had to get eight more pumps or something, and they're like $1,500 a piece. So I was like, oh,
right. No, we like the system for sure. It worked really well for us.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like your way, you don't have to, like, I have to go by hand and top water that that glaze that I always talk about. So you can glaze if you want with those sprayers, right? It's gonna just sort of glaze the whole top.
Yeah.
But if you can, you should totally try flooding the bottom. If you can get away with it, I'll tell you, like I've been messing around with side by sides for the last like 3 years, and now I'm finally at the point where I've like concluded for sure it's the way to go.
Yeah, well,
I'm done.
Right. No,
dealing with watering, it's super simple.
Right.
Yeah, and that's, to me, that's the whole reason why we have this Horizon, because we don't have to be scared of having a whole bunch of water at the bottom. You would have to be scared if you didn't have an Horizon. And how about we go back to Josh's question that he had about, I think you mentioned maybe if the roots are going through all the horizons, and you were wondering if we're seeing better quality, better terpenes, better bud, etc. with Horizonal versus not. And I can share my observations, and I'd like to hear your observations too. Because number one, I think that it's very cultivar dependent, what you're going to see. Is it going through all the horizons? Yes, it absolutely is, especially with my bottom watering technique. I see the roots shoot out the horizons out of the beds. So yeah, for sure. Am I seeing sort of better terpene results out of horizontal systems versus pots versus just super soil? I've tried it all so far. And what I can say is that overall horizons simplify everything, because you I guess have less issues. It just works very well with the watering for me. There's never any watering issues. Especially watering from the bottom, but even watering from the top. I've just like never overwatered a bed. Even if I top water and it runs off, I still don't have issues. Right. So for running a commercial facility, I think that if you want everything to run smooth, yes, Horizons is the way to go. That being said, some cultivars will do different in a small pot versus in a bigger bed versus in Horizons. It totally depends. In general, as far as having product go to the market, pretty much every strain will do very well in Horizons. So if it's doing very well in a pot, it will do good enough in Horizons. But sometimes And Travis and Josh, I'd like to hear from you guys what you've seen. Is sometimes when a plant is confined to a pot, it will express itself actually better than in a big bed. I don't know if it's the stress or what it is, but it just looks more exotic. I would think in some strains. Some strains look the exact same. But yeah, for me, it's more running the system long term with no issues is the biggest advantage. Is the weed better? It's not worse, but is it really better? I can't really say.
Well, yeah, I mean, only a test would say that. You know what I mean? Like if you got 32, if you're hitting 32%, you're good.
Just to finish, I'm comparing organic weed with organic weed. You know,
exactly.
Using compost, using lab tests, using everything in both ways. So it's being very sort of professionally done in both ways. So are the Horizons giving me a necessarily better product than a potting soil that I lab tested, used my compost, everything, and was very attentive to everything? Like that, I can't tell you for sure. How about you guys? Have you noticed straight up?
I was going to say the same thing. I was going to say that, you know, what I've seen, because I started off in a 5-gallon, then I went to 10, 15, 20, 30 to the 4x4. I have had a 60-gallon as well that I did one, but I've done all of those in horizontal soil systems, just playing with different sands, different sills, because I live here on a property that gives me that opportunity to play. So I wanted to see really what I should do. And I was playing with clays. I have some yellow clay here. I have some red clay. So I was doing all different types of things, but I was growing in all these pots, you know, so I was seeing everything. And I was like, what I'm seeing is like what you said, it's kind of cultivar dependent. And I was seeing like just craziness in the 30, from the 30 to the 60 versus like a 4x4. Like you're right. I think the 30, for some reason or another, the buds got bigger. It was like.
What do you mean by the 30 what? Sorry.
The 30-gallon bag. Like I was using grassroots living soil.
Like a smaller bed.
A 30-gallon bag. Yeah, it's just
like what's a 4x4? How many gallons in that?
That's 150. That's 150.
Okay, so a smaller bed. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, a smaller 30-gallon. Then I had a 60-gallon. You know, they're just beds. You know, gallon size difference. But the 30-gallon, and that's what, you know, a lot of people were saying with living soils. You know, you don't want to go kind of below a 30-gallon grassroots living soil bag. You know, that space is what you need to allow everything to do its thing, you know, to allow the microorganisms to get your water moisture right. Everything's just easier when you get bigger. But as I noticed that in the horizontal system, when I got to a certain point, especially like the 4x4 for me was the hardest in the horizontal because I just couldn't get the moisture right. I couldn't maintain it in the soil wanted to constrict on me. So the sides, like you were saying, like the sides of the bed, or where you're having to, like, the most issue is because and for me it was like I was getting too much air penetration. It was like air was going down and drying out everything too faster than what it was in the middle. Because I was just getting that air penetration from where that plastic bag was meeting the soil was a different zone there. So air was really hitting that plastic and shooting down the side, drying out the edges of the soil. Yeah. So I noticed I had to water more on the edges, but then I didn't have to in the middle. So it was like a delicate balance of like, I need water over here, but not over here. I need some over here, but not over here.
Well, I'll tell you, like I kind of challenge that sort of popular opinion that I hear that you need a bigger soil for it to function properly, and maybe I'm wrong, but in my R&D room, I have relatively really small pots. And if your plant relative to the size of the pot is right, you have the right amount of nutrients, the right balance, the right organisms. It's a proper living soil. I'm getting actually great results. I'm not having problems in a small pot as long as the plant is proportionally the right size. So it kind of seems to me like soil life is still doing its thing, even if it's restricted to that small amount of soil. Yeah. I don't know.
I'm watching a guy right now. I'm watching a bunch of people right now doing a small pot challenge. Like that's what it's called. It's like a little mini bucket challenge.
Yeah.
They're getting huge freaking autoflowers coming out of these, and they're doing, some of them are doing autoflowers, some of them are doing seed, and they're getting.
Is this full organic?
Yeah. Well, okay. No, not full organic. No, it's not like they're using nutrients. You know what I mean? They're using bottled nutrients.
Okay, yes, then that is possible. It's impossible, in my opinion, if you're going no bottled nutrients. You need the soil volume compared to the size of your plant. But if that plant is very small and you have a very small soil volume, as long as that plant is the proper size for the pot, and everything is balanced, like I said, and you have the biology thriving in that small pot, like you're going to get a great plant from start to finish.
Yep.
You know what's interesting, guys, is that way back in 18, I went to the Emerald Cup and, got a cannabis experience and was like, really blown away. Went to an after party that night and was introduced to a couple cats that were really into smoking dabs and hash. And that was probably my 5th experience smoking, really high quality full melt. And I was absolutely just blasted, right? Like it didn't hit me at first, but as soon as I walked outside, I was with another guy who doesn't smoke. And this party, like the top half of the room was smoke. So as you're walking around, you're like getting contact high. And I looked at him and his eyes were all bloodshot. He was like a little disoriented. I'm like, dude, I got to get you out of here. You don't smoke. Like, let's go outside. So I get him outside and I'm like, bam, it hit me. Like, holy shit. So the next day I asked these guys, I go, what the hell did you do to that poor plant to make it grow this level of quality? Like, I was on an acid trip for like the whole night. And they're like, we stress the fuck out of it. Like, well, what do you mean by that? He goes, well, we grow these little plants in these tiny little pots, we pound them with nutrients, and we just root bound the hell out of them. And when they just stop flowering because they're just so stressed out, we then take that little bit of flower and make a concentrate out of it. And so I think that what you're experiencing in your R&D room, Tom, is you've said the expressions can be radically different in the same cultivar grown in a larger volume versus a smaller volume.
Yeah.
Which kind of backs up what Josh was saying. Like in a 60-gallon pot, he was getting bigger buds as a result compared to the 4x4. Yeah. So this all makes sense that when you take this plant and you stress it responsibly or maybe irresponsibly, I don't know. I mean, who's to say, how do plants have equal rights? Like, should we not torture them?
Well, I wouldn't say that I stress my plants that much in those pots because, again, they're the proper size plants for that size of pot, and they finish like unstressed, like they don't have deficiencies. Everything's proper about it.
Yeah, I want to use the word stress carefully.
Yeah.
Maybe I should be saying root bound, right? Maybe I should say that it basically grew out of the ability to grow much further. Like you said,
I think it probably has to do with the fact that it's hitting that pot and it's confined to a pot where it doesn't have the ability to just go anywhere. It will express a different phenotype. One thing that I like to try and keep it as scientific as I can. Another variable is I don't think this is it, okay? But another variable that I do have to keep in consideration is that when I flower plants in my beds, they're very big plants. When I flower in those small pots, like I said, compared to the pot, it has to be the right size of plant. So it is a small plant. So there is a variable where it's a small plant versus a big plant. So scientifically, we have to keep this in mind. Is that what is causing the phenotypic variations? It could be. I would bet on the root bound thing more, but it's part of the variables.
Yeah, no, agreed. And that's the beauty of science. But this goes back to, I think that when Silver Surfer hit Santa Cruz, or maybe it was Santa Rosa, and this guy, he grew a mother plant and gave his 3 best buddies cuttings, and he took one cutting himself off the mother. And they all grew at different elevations in different areas in that general area, which you have a lot of different microclimates in that area. And when they came back together in the fall to, share and show off what that cut had done for them, he said they were all radically different. Like you couldn't even come close to thinking it was the same cultivar. So we know for sure that the environmental expression or the environmental influences and the own human style of growing, like each guy didn't use the exact same mixes. They all used their own, soil recipes and formulas. And, I want to plant this under a tree, or I want to plant it just outside the drip line. So they all did different things and had radically different results.
It's a real thing. It's a phenotype variation for sure. Some cultivars will show major variations depending on how you grow them. Some not so much at all. That's what I'm seeing. Like, what about you, Travis? Like, have you noticed what I'm talking about? Like a plant of the same cut grown in a pot versus grown in a bed expressing themselves differently?
Yeah, I mean, I don't notice it. I haven't been doing it living soil, but doing it in let's just say cocoa with salts or another medium like Pro Mix or Bio 365. Bio 365 is one of my favorite mediums to grow in if I'm going to be running not living soil. But I definitely notice differences, especially with this glitter bomb I'm growing right now. Like, I just took that down and got glitter bomb from a friend of mine, and it's nice, but it, like, the expression of the smells like that I'm getting from this plant that's drying right now, even when you do the pinch test after 4 or 5 days, it's unbelievable. I can't wait to do the taste test.
Good.
And so.
But you haven't tested really like the same cut in a small pot, living soil, and then ran it in a bed and really did straight up side by side. Yeah.
No, I haven't done that yet. No, I mean, I have a good opportunity to do that, I guess, with with the pheno hunting. Starting, we're going to be starting that, and then what you were telling me with that system, I got to see pictures of this because that would be a good way to kind of do it, I guess, to do a test.
Yeah. I'll post pictures this week for sure.
Yeah.
That was a great idea, Tom, because it gives the plant more room to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Well, you come up with stuff like that when you're restricted with space, right? You find ways to make it work.
Yeah, which we are restricted with space. I know. What is your total square footage do you guys get?
Our rooms, like our flower rooms, are
everything all together. Do they give you a certain cap for the whole thing, or?
For my type of license, right. We're capped at 4,000 square feet of plant canopy.
Total.
So your facility can be as big as you want, but the space that you have your plants,
Yeah.
it has to be a canopy of 4,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So in my world, that's a big fucking grow. We have no, is it? It's more than 4,000 now. It's anyway. Mine is about 2,000 square feet of actual plant canopy.
Okay.
And actually, this is the point I want. Tom, can you explain to Travis how you set up your beds to be movable so you could get that extra row in? Because I think Travis might be able to use that type of a system to put in maybe one or two more rows in his space.
No, I know how he set his up, and we can't do that because of the greenhouses were built before we decided to go this way, and we have the heated floors, so we can't drill into the floors to do those moving beds. Yeah, that's what our biggest issue is, why we couldn't do that. But yeah, we would love to be able to put another row in there.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, we didn't did we drill anything? I don't know.
Typically, they require you to bolt to the floor because as the trays move over all the way to one side, you can get a wiggle with them.
Yeah, probably.
You know, or they have huge plates on the bottom that don't allow that.
And they move.
Like if the heated floor was a problem, I'm not telling you to change your facility. It looks fucking awesome. But couldn't you just put something over the floor where you would drill it to drill into that? I don't know, man. I don't know.
Right.
Well, one room is it's straight up slides on a track on the floors, but another room I just fortified heavily, just standard type rolling benches. Yeah,
nice. And they move pretty easily. Because that's a heavy.
You wouldn't believe, man. A 4 by 45 foot bed. Okay,
right.
Horizonal, obviously, extreme heavy.
Yeah.
If everything is perfectly level, okay, I can roll my beds by hand.
Wow.
I can just push them.
Yeah. I see the no-till kings are doing that same thing out in California. And
they're not horizontal. They just have potting mix, right? So your bed is probably
not as heavy,
less than 50%.
Right.
Maybe 25% of the weight.
People have asked that as well. When we were leveling these things out, I used I don't know if you saw my post, we used washers, metal stainless steel washers.
Okay, yeah.
Because we needed to level these, and we're like, well, what are we gonna use? These beds are gonna be so heavy. I would love to know the weight of those beds. I mean, I'm never gonna be able to know, but
actually you can. Yeah, I did a study on it early on for a rooftop garden. I wanted to go that way, and it was 86 pounds per square foot. When it was at a
per square foot or cubic?
Cubic foot. Thank you. At full saturation. So in other words,
I was gonna say I think I calculated 60 some pounds, so maybe 80 pounds would make sense. We're in the same
because what I did was I added water to it to hit what we call field capacity or maximum soil saturation. And I just kept putting the water in until it began to drip out. And that was 86.7 pounds per cubic foot. So it's the beds that you're dealing with are in the tons.
And when you calculated 80 something, was that just the A or the proportionally speaking, the E, the A, and the O?
It was proportionally the entire mix. Although what we did find out was that because the layers are of different sizes, the 1, 2, 4, that the measurements got skewed to some degree because there was more O horizon than A horizon and then E, because the E held the most water. The A held the second most water, but the O held almost no water. So it got a little bit wonky in the calculations, but that
We're
was
in the same ballpark though, 80 pounds.
yeah. It was a safe calculation for the engineers figuring the roof load and the live load. It wasn't too little, it wasn't too great. It was a really good stab at field capacity, moisture holding in that soil. So in a rain event, if the soil drained properly, it would not exceed that 86.7.
Yeah. Hey, I had. Were you gonna say something, Travis? Sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying for us, I mean, our square footage of canopy in our greenhouses, we figured to be 1,250 square feet. So because we have 2 greenhouses built right now. So if we build 2 more greenhouses, we could have 1,250 square feet total in all 4 of those greenhouses. We could have 5,000 square feet total
Of canopy.
Of flowering canopy. They don't even count your veg.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that makes sense. They count ours though, but
yeah, they don't count ours for that. But I mean, we're just limited in space in those others in propagation. So as of now, but what we did was we made our beds 55 inches wide. So if you think about it, like we're 55 inches wide by 64 feet long. You know, you add those, you add that up by 4, you almost got another bed in there. It just doesn't look like it. And we needed enough room to get a small scissor lift down the rows to work on something if it, anything went light or whatever, the light lifters, whatever. You got to get up to the ceiling, blackouts, whatever. We needed to have some sort of scissor lift to go down those rows. So everything was calculated. Recalculated. So I don't know. It's before you do your full build out of your greenhouses. That's something to really take into consideration.
Yeah. That's why I made my newer room slide on those tracks, so I wasn't restricted to a rolling table, so I can get that room if I want to put equipment. If I need to,
that makes sense. Totally.
All right, so guys, typically we take questions at an hour and a half. We're at almost an hour 45. So let's roll out the 3 questions that we have and see where that conversation goes.
Sure, and then I have one more thing on lighting I'd like to touch on as well, but we'll go with Squishy Mirror here. Have you heard of reheat dehumidifiers?
Yes, we are actually using a reheat system in our drying facility right now.
What is that?
I really can't explain it. My other buddy, my partner Josh, would be able to explain it a lot better. But it's basically using dehumidifying. You're not really running a dehumidifier. You're using a heater, and I really couldn't explain it. I'm gonna F it up. So
is it possible that it's something to do with, like, let's say you have a mini split heat pump and you're like forcing it to make heat so it can cool the heat, and your mini split is giving you a lot more dehumidification? Some sort of hack like that. Is that what he means?
Yeah, it's
no idea.
Because a big thing for us, like, I'm running pretty old school. I have ACs and dehumidifiers. So a problem is, let's say, like, my lights would be too efficient and not making enough heat, and my AC isn't working hard enough. I'm going to have trouble with dehumidification, because the heat in my room makes my AC work hard. And when my AC works hard, it dehumidifies a lot. So I don't know if it has to do with that, but
it sounds like it. It sounds like this is.
I don't have a particular, like, reheat dehumidification system, but I know what he's talking about. I don't know.
We went through a guy named Steve
It's a thing.
Landry. Steve Landry is the guy that's really been teaching this across the United States, and he's got a lot of clients. I learned about him through Aaron Field, and you could actually do it in your cultivation system, in your cultivation. Like, he's teaching people to not. He's like, get rid of the dehues. You won't even have to use a dehu. You know,
Yeah,
and
that's pretty extreme there, but yeah.
So Lil put a comment in there. Why don't you highlight that, Ken? Because she basically gave you the answer.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, reheat dehumidification is a HVAC process that cools air below its dew point to remove moisture, dehumidify, and then reheats it to a comfortable temperature before supplying it to a space.
Something like that.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Cool.
Okay, well, let's go to the next question here, and it's directed at you, Tom. Can you give a little more detail on how you bottom water? I try, but not sure when it stops or restart watering, since my husband's sip functions differently than an earth box water when water gone.
I think bottom line, if you have an E horizon, so if you're watering from the bottom and the water does not sit in organic matter, it's not complicated. Just water it from the bottom, and as you notice that it's wicking, water again. So, for example, like in my R&D room, I'll water a 4x4 tray with a bunch of pots in it. And what I do is I like to just water it once a day. And if I water it in the morning and then it takes a few hours to wick it, then I'm good for the whole day. Let's say I flood it, but 15 minutes later, it's all sucked up. Well, I'll do it again. So you kind of get a feel for like how much is it gonna wick in a day, and that's kind of how you're gonna flood that tray for the pots or the beds, whatever, to wick. But bottom line, like if you have a good E horizon, I would say you almost could have just water down there at all time. It's pretty simple.
As long as you have the runoff.
The what?
The runoff, the slot that's 1/4 inch below the bottom of the A horizon, so that you can't.
That's what I'm saying. The E horizon, right?
Right. So that the water, you need a drain port 1/4 inch below the top of the E horizon, so you can't ever flood the E.
100%. So that's what it's all about, and that's what I am saying. If you bottom water and your water never reaches organic matter, you have that buffer. You should be good. It's as simple as that. It's just simple. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Yeah.
As long as you're using an E horizon, if you don't have an E horizon, that's not going to work.
No. Your plants are going to hate it. You can pull it off, but it's dangerous.
Yeah. Have you heard that peppers need heat, and if you water them less, they make spicier peppers? Do you think the increase in stress would make weed produce more or less of the desired chemicals?
So a good friend of mine, Alex, has documented this. It's called crop steering using water. And he stressed side by side. He stressed one pepper by doing heavy rain events and then hard drybacks, and then buffer zones where he was, kind of in the middle. And he increased not only the yield by 50%, but the heat by at least 50%. So there are ways to do that in cannabis. There's a lot of information out there about people who have focused on stressing the plant to get higher yields, like that example with the hash I smoked. Those guys tortured the shit out of that plant, and when you torture it, it's going to produce its defenses. Those defenses are what we like, called terpenes and cannabinoids and cannabinols. So, yeah, there's a lot of information on stressing. There's a lot of different ways to do it. A lot work and some don't. I mean, some fail in chemistry because they end up with a newt lock because they were stressing and things got so far out of balance that everything shut down. So,
funny enough, like as far as chemicals, like if I'm lab testing, I'm seeing a lot of pheno variation from the same cut. If I'm growing in different ways, so for like a small pot versus a big bed. But as far as lab testing, it's testing really similar. So the look of the plant could be like very different, but the chemical properties could be like very similar. Have you seen, Travis or Josh, like is your weed like testing higher in, let's say, a small pot where you're crop steering versus a big bed where you can't really crop steer?
I haven't. I mean, the testing costs so much money to do that we haven't even we haven't done that.
Like if my cut is testing a certain percentage of cannabinoids in my small pot in my R&D, it will usually test the same in the bed.
Gotcha.
That's kind of where I went with in my head. I was like, you know what? That's for years I kept hearing, stress. Stress is what produces terpenes. And I was like, I'm gonna give it the ultimate stress and just build what I've built. And basically, this is like me testing this theory of mine right now. Is like I'm in a system that is like beautiful and it's set up to do what it's doing, but yet it's the ultimate stress test for a cannabis plant. It's like surrounded by more. It's like everything that you were told. I was told that you couldn't grow cannabis in. Like I'm in.
Right.
Like fire right now, and everything's coming out like just so terpy and so rich and flavorful. I'm just like, this was not like this in the 4x4. This is my fourth run in this bed, and like each time, like Leighton kept telling me, it's going to get better and better, better, because the system is getting older and it's building structure in the soil to allow this stuff to take hold and to allow. And as long as I don't mess with it and start pulling plants and ripping roots out and tearing up everything, these structures will stay intact and allow these nutrients to do what they do. But the other aspect is when you go on, like, where was I going? The plant itself is being stressed outside of the soil. You know what I'm saying? The environment basically is so different and it's changing all the time. Like I'm not dialed in like you guys' rooms are. You know what I mean? I'm like free flow, open door, open the window. You know what I mean? It's like I got plastic on the walls, but there's like I open the door all the time. Like, I'm not like so to speak, trying to keep pests or anything out. Like I'm pests in. Like, hey, come on in, guys. I got lizards. I got the whole 9 yards in here. So my stress environment is totally different all the time compared to what you guys are doing. I'm in a horizontal system, but I'm seeing results like I've never seen before. Like, and when I sent my soil, I sent some soil to Leighton, but I also sent some down to Florida to my man Mo down there. I grow soil, and we've been tonight at 9. This is to be the third week that I've actually gone on to his show and actually looked at the soil. And he was like, dude, I've had your soil in a vial for 8 days now, and it still hasn't gone anaerobic. And I was like, how is that possible? Like, how you have it in liquid inside of a vial and it still hasn't gone anaerobic? And he was like, it's just the life inside of it is keeping it from going anaerobic. It's like, it's so active. It's just, it's living. It's creating its own. It's doing what it took like 12 days, he said, for it to actually start showing signs of anaerobic. And Leighton, like what you told me when you looked at that soil last time, and you said, "Hey, you've got this in the center," and you're like, "You've got some things going anaerobic here." Where you told me where I pulled that soil from is the only plant in the bed where I'm having problems right now. So that in my head, I was like, how the hell can Leighton Morrison in California, who's never seen my bed, never seen anything, just looked at a freaking pinch of my soil and could tell me that I was getting ready to have problems with my plant?
It's called experience, my friends.
But it also tells me that there's something going on. That there's more to this than just nutrient. You know, there's living beings in this soil that are. It's a living organism that literally is. If you know what you're doing and know what you're looking at, you can dial these things in to a point where it's like, oh, yep, you're getting ready to do this, you're getting ready to do that, and completely eliminate all these problems that you're having. Like,
Yep,
if you have a problem,
hey, scratching a whole bunch of sand in that area.
it's Leighton. I literally eliminated everything. So at first, I took a small portion of that area because it's the center, so it's surrounded by water, you know, not like the other pockets where it's just one-sided. It's the center pocket, so it's all around that center where the water is being whipped up. I removed all but this one spot, and when I pulled the dog fennel out today, I was like, oh my God, like right where I took that sample, it was so saturated. The worm castings and the dog fennel had like merged together and were wicking. There was so much root mass in the creek, had grown into the creek, and the worm casting, sand, silver clay, had turned into worm cast like mud, and it was just wicking like a bead of water, just like a river flowing into the pocket there almost. And I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what Leighton was. He's like, you're getting ready to go anaerobic. And what it is like it's just over time, the worms just kept building and building and building and basically built a water channel right into the daggone center pocket where I didn't see it because the dog fennel was covering it up. So once I cut out the dog fennel, I could see it plain as day. And I was like, there's my problem. You know? So that solves the problem. And you know, it's all about the water retention in that soil.
Agreed.
There's a doctor, a cannabis biologist out of Southern Illinois that I ran into last year at a talk, and he's been stress testing with watering. And the big thing is like, when do you do that? That was my question to him. Like, well, what stage of the plant growth do you stress test at to get higher terpene, higher cannabinoids? And I think that's what they're working on right now. But Dr. Lem, it's Dr. Leme, and his handle is doc.leme on Instagram, and check him out. He's been doing some pretty extensive studies on this, and I was trying to pick his brain on it, and I'm gonna tap into him again to see how much more, because they're doing it at Southern Illinois with hemp.
My opinion on all of that, I'll tell you, is that I think that stressing your plants with watering and really seeing real results, for me, I know it's a controversial thing to say, but it's more of a hydro thing. It's more of a cocoa, like having 4 dry backs a day, having those generative versus vegetative versus there's different crop steering methods in hydro that those guys are controlling the plant, and you see major results. The way we're growing, I've tried a lot of different shit and haven't seen much variation.
You can't, because the system buffers itself.
Right. Yeah. So
the ability to
in truth, like after like years of trying to like get a cut to test higher, it won't.
Maybe the only way you guys can do it is through
genetically. That's how it tests. That's what it is. That's my finding in the way that we're growing. Doesn't apply in hydro though. Hydro, they can do stuff.
Yep, agreed 100%. And guys, listen, I wanted to just we're at the hour now. Wanted to thank you guys all for coming on and giving us 2 hours of your time. I know, especially Travis, you're it's late for you. It's late for you, Tom, and Josh. It's pretty late for you too by now. So, just want to thank you guys. Appreciate you coming on and talk about this. I think it was a great show. I think that the audience will have heard enough of your experiences to understand whether this is something they're interested in or not. So, again, much appreciated. Ken, always thank you for all the time you put behind the scenes to make this happen every week. And just wanted to turn it over to you for any housekeeping.
Well, I just want to get one more question before we run away. And that's actually, you said I think it was 30% more yield using the underplant lighting. And I just wanted you to mention really quick, was it 30% or was it 33% improvement in yield?
Majorly cultivar dependent. I would say minimum 30%. But like you can see more than 30, honestly. Yeah.
Cool.
It's, if you're growing, I don't want to say it to my competition there, but like if you're growing commercially, like you need to grow with under canopy lights.
Which ones were you using there? Those look like Grandmasters underneath there. Is that
those are Grandmasters. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Tom, for that. Travis, that might be something you definitely want to talk to Tom about.
Yeah, I'm gonna change my whole watering system for that one.
You need to.
I know. I heard that on your talk last week, and we were talking on the gram a little bit. Yeah, that's intriguing for sure. Are you stripping back more? Are you leaving more on the bottoms now? That on the
I talked about it last week. Like I'm trying different things right now. I'm still new to it, but I don't think you have to change much.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to change much. It's just even when you're going to see your plants, you're not going to see a big difference. You don't realize how much more yield you're getting, but it's just
right.
All those bottoms are just so much denser that you just see it in the final yield. Like the grow doesn't look that much different itself.
Right. But then you start taking the plants out. You start taking the plants out to harvest and you see it. I'm sure, Yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to stop you there.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was nice to meet everybody. And
same here. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Wednesday, we have myself and Andy. Of course, again, we're still going over his book. The Ladies Chiropractic is Sexy should be back for Thursday. Sunday, Dr. Paula was sick, so she wasn't on this Sunday. She should be coming up this Sunday. And then, Leighton, do you want to tell the people who we have next Monday?
Oh, it's a dear old friend of mine, Kevin Jodry. So we're going to talk about his adventures in the Far East, his playground that he's working on, some different land races, as well as, how cannabis community is doing in the late stages of suffering the catastrophic loss of so many farmers up there. So should be a really good show. And, as always, he's a dear friend. And I look forward to catching up with him. So
there you guys know now. So everybody say peace out, and I'm going to end the broadcast.
Peace.
So